I like how we started off with the comment from Arkstar. This is first. It's like 12:47, like way before.
Yeah, the Arkstar. I know Arkstar. His name's Manny. He lives, I believe, in Africa, so his time difference is pretty far. So I think he just wanted to get a comment in. Like it's like because when you schedule on YouTube, when you schedule ahead of time, it lets people comment even though it hasn't actually started.
Oh.
So yeah.
Well, props to that.
Oh my goodness.
That's the way to jump in.
How are you? You went to a con.
Holy! You know what I did today?
Did you go to a con?
You know what I did at the con? Hey! Well, sorry. What's up, Say Wong and Force?
Say Wong and Force.
I did a burrito.
Champions, my friends. Oh wait, you did a burrito contest, and it was like elbow to hand or something.
The burrito was from here to here. That's how long the burrito. I was in this contest in a wrestling ring in the sun in black.
That makes me not hungry.
Half the burrito's still over on the counter. I got dinner for after the show. Once I saw the guy like coming down the last few bites, I'm like, screw it, dude. I'm tapping out. I got dinner waiting for me.
Free burrito, or did you have to pay to enter?
I did not have to pay to enter. They were going around looking for like one last contestant, and I was like, you know what? I'm here. Let's do it.
Yeah, like I think it would have known about it, like you were doing it ahead of time if it was planned. But then I saw your Facebook post. I had spotty reception today. So I was like, oh, we'll randomly see it later.
It is on our Facebook page. One of the other guys, we had a booth out. So I was at the Collectible Stampede in Woodland today, which is very close to Kyber Cave. It was a great event. This was the first time they ever did it. Yeah, I know, but it was worth it, man. And it was a free burrito, dude. The Asian in me could not deny entering this contest. Anyways, the Stampede collectible, it was toys, all kinds of toy vendors. They had a wrestling ring out there, and then a burrito eating contest in the middle of this thing. So we had to be out there. Kyber K was out there representing. We made some great friends, some great connections. Hopefully a few of them are tuning in tonight. And a good time was had by all. And my belly's still full, and I still have half a burrito.
Kevin,
what's up, Kevin?
Free burrito calls to us all. Yes, it does. Like I can already I didn't eat till 2:30 today, and now I'm already like, burrito.
Burrito. I still got half if you want to come down to the cave.
Well, I had a good weekend. So a girlfriend and I, we went to the Avenue of the Giants, where the redwoods are in California, which is several hours north of here. But so we only stayed 2 nights. It was just kind of a quick trip. We went hiking. We went to a little town called Ferndale, and in Ferndale, they have this really old cemetery. Like it's actually a graveyard. Okay, it's right next to a church.
Yeah.
They had people who had been buried in the 1870s, and you see how the style has changed too of how they list the headstones. They had some mausoleums that were really cool. I told Bertha, thank you for letting us come visit.
Yeah.
She was a name that was back there. She was 98 years old, and behind there was a wrought iron door that was really decorated, and then behind there was white marble, and it had her name, and she was 98 when she passed.
Wow.
And what's really cool is the doors in front of it actually really protect the marble from any weathering and such. So that was really cool. Ferndale, known for plants. It was Mezzo versus the Great Outdoors. Yes, it was. First saw me with it. I posted a selfie on Facebook with a cup of coffee and the redwoods behind me, and I'm like, looking like a dork. The dork that I am. Being a dork is not a bad thing. It's just a fun thing.
Out in the middle of Endor.
Yes, it was really cool. All the different headstones. Everything was just really neat. There were actually ones that were so many people get used to that it's just grass and then a headstone, but they had ones that were the entire grave was granite. It kind of made me think of vampires in a sense.
Yeah.
Where it's a full-on coffin.
Dude, you showed us some. You showed us some pictures right before, and I was like, dude, that would be so cool for photography.
I can. Well, my friend who is also a photographer. I didn't bring my camera with me. I left my camera at home. Hey, Castro, Dragos, Slavers, hello.
Johnny Colado, superstar.
So let me just real quick, okay? Because I showed them to you before. How do I do this again? So I just don't know how to do anything. All right. So there was one picture. Okay, this whole thing, and that's like, and it extended this way a little bit, and it has a big long road. That was the cemetery that we went to, and it was really cool. And it was a long walk. But it was totally worth it. My friend and I kind of did a little bit of a photo shoot there. She dressed up as a kind of like a fun fall witch. Took a witch hat and like an outfit and everything, and posed on the stairs, and we got like really cool pictures. And there was fog overhead too. Like in the picture I showed, there's like fog on the top. It was like that all the way around. Behind the graveyard, there's like, it's just a ton of redwood trees and stuff. It was wow, beautiful.
That's amazing.
It was really interesting. All right, so first off, sir, we have our nerdy news, and I do have to apologize to everybody beforehand, because as Mezzo does, I misspelled something.
I know, and what I love is how much it like grates on your nerves. So every time I see the little misspellings pop up, I kind of laugh internally because I know what it's doing to you on the inside.
It hurts, like physically. I get anguish. So first off, Werewolf by Night is now out on Disney Plus. Now,
not Werewolf.
Not Werewolf. Werewolves. I can't even say it. All right, Werewolf. You see the poster on the right?
Werewolf.
Okay.
That sounds like a great movie. Maybe that'll be the sequel.
It's like a short. It's like only 51 minutes or something like that. It's a pretty short kind of thing. And all I've heard is great things. All I've heard is great things.
Okay, can I make a confession? So yes. the Stampede collectible thing ended at 3 today, and I was like, dude, I got to get back to the cave because like my Disney subscription ran out at home, and like Steven keeps his here at the shop. So I was like, dude, I've been dying to see Werewolf by Night since it came out like the other day, and I've been trying to avoid like the spoilers and stuff. I just know how cool it is. In fact, I can't wait to talk to our host tonight.
I haven't. I haven't. Just so you watch.
Or our guest tonight. I literally just watched it. I just finished a couple of. Oh my goodness, I loved it.
I get to watch it tonight.
I'm really upset that it's just like a little One Piece thing.
My tennis elbow is like not happy that I do that. Oh my gosh, yeah. Disney's taking on Universal Studios for monster movies now. Apparently, yes. I've heard it's really good. All I've heard is good things.
I will tell you what is really cool is they take advantage of Marvel Studios takes advantage of what's up, Bad Mike? Of some laws and rules in filmmaking as far as like ratings that you get if you show certain things, but they're able to skirt around it by doing so. I don't want to give it away, but it's so cool. Like, yeah, it's definitely not what you would expect to see from Marvel at all.
And Disney in general too.
Oh, yeah, definitely Disney. Holy goodness, I can't even believe it's on the streaming service.
All right, so and then next up, Star Wars Halloween Guide.
Oh,
that Halloween's this month, guys. It's Spooktober.
It is.
Okay, so for those interested, down in the description below, there is the article for Werewolf by Night by Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really good. And then there's also a link to the Star Wars Halloween Guide down below for all things Star Wars that you want to get for Hollywood for Halloween.
Well, where does this guide come from?
I just got home an hour ago.
Is this like an official Disney thing or something?
This is from StarWars.com. Specifically.
Okay.
That I thought, that would be cool. That's perfect for this month. Yeah, like it's early enough that people can take a look, and maybe if something has like 2-week shipping, it'll be here in time. Hopefully.
It really is. Today is the 9th, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm failing.
It's okay. Don't we all have that at a time?
I want to give a plug. Oh, first off, I want to let people know who do not know we have a Patreon. You can help support this show and a bunch of new shows we have. We have a new Wednesday show every Wednesday. We have gaming, Kyber Cave Gaming with Mezzo.
And Time Force is on it too. He's doing some stuff. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, we have Fours Effects, who's up there in the comments. He has a gaming show too that he did as well, and that is going to be uploaded. And I don't know when it's going to be on the channel, but it's going to be on the channel soon.
As soon as I can. So, basically, he sent it to me last night, but I had very limited internet where I was, and I got home an hour before the show.
And I told him you were in the middle of the woods too, so I was like, dude.
It was the middle of the woods. It was like. For those who understand upload and download speed, my upload was 0.6. My download was 14, which is give you an example. Okay. The incorrect intro was up for today. And when I tried to fix it, it would time out before it could finish. So I had to do it when I got home 1 hour before the show. Same thing with the new slides. I made those today and I was like, I couldn't even get them uploaded because it was so slow. It would just stop. Anyway, those who don't understand the upload download speed, sorry. Upload is when you're putting things on the internet. Download is when you're taking stuff from the internet or streaming a video to watch. So anyway, that's that. Yeah. So I'll get it up as soon as I can. Just have to do some quick edits and whatnot, and that's it. And I'll get it uploaded. But so we have our Wednesday gaming show, and Fridays we have After Dark that's 18+. We recommended it 18+ because there is adult content and language allowed. Heck yeah, Forces join KC Gaming.
Woo! So excited. Hey, and even though we don't have a promotional plug, I want to give out a really quick plug because we have the flow of the show getting ready to come out. This person has been a guest on our show. You can go back and see past episodes. He has his own company called Saber Flux Workshop. And if you like what you see in this video, make sure to contact Saber Flux Workshop because the man makes equipment that is specifically designed for flow and body. What is it called? Body. There's specific names.
I'm just gonna let you wonder.
I'm failing. Do you remember? Are you just really gonna let me flounder like this? And you know what it's like? What it is?
I'm just pretending that I know.
Contact, okay. Saber. That's the body. The one where you roll it all over your body and stuff. Contact Saber.
Do that again.
Wait. You know what? Forget you.
Forget you.
All
for
right.
those who also want to know, hello, Matt. Matt Grundle, you're amazing. Can't wait for December. So if you guys want to check out Saber Flux Workshop, they are also on TikTok. You see Christian on there a lot of the time.
Yes.
So speaking of flow of the show, thank you, James Kaiser, who is our producer that brought us this video this week. So without further ado, enjoy our flow of the show.
Woo! Saber's up for Christian Castro.
Oh,
okay, look, I turned my sound off at least.
Yeah, sorry. I just didn't think about it until last second. And I was like, I'm like partying out here.
It was like a rave backstage.
Okay. And then I grabbed my Fox mask.
So satisfying.
And I'm like sitting here like this with my saber.
Dude, I totally have one of those at my house. We should both wear them one night.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. Graphic novel's pretty rocking. Actually, you know what's funny is I don't have my new. I'm not using my new mouse. I didn't rush to get it ready.
I know my mouse.
This is my new mouse. When I discovered it wasn't really the mouse, it was the mouse pad was covered in stuff. Anyway, oh gosh, okay. Thank you, James Kaiser.
Dartcephalus.
Last week I spelled his name wrong. I corrected it. That was dust on that mask because I haven't used it in so long. Oh my gosh. My nose, it just feels like I'm getting tickled on my face. Also, for those who have you seen Elf?
The Will Ferrell movie?
Yes.
Yes.
I just saw it this weekend. I had.
Okay, it was a good movie.
I know it's really random, but
that was extremely random. I have no idea what the hell we're talking about right now.
Make fun of me for not seeing it yet. Okay, I'm done talking about that. Okay, anyway, thank you so much. For those who want to check out Christian Castro at Saber Workshop, you can find them on TikTok. I also included the link to that video down below to find out more info about them. All right.
Yay!
To my weirdo ADHD kind of brain that likes to switch topics all the time. Our guest tonight is actually one of our patrons. His name is Graveyard, and he his friend Salem, they host a podcast that's all about horror, and it's so much fun. TV shows, movies, and all that jazz, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. I've been listening to it when I've been driving across town, so it's a lot of fun. So anyways, without further ado, please welcome Graveyard.
Woo-hoo!
Hello.
Hello.
Isn't that weird?
I know, it's so weird. I'm not used to having you here.
I know. It's kind of strange. For those who are curious, Graveyard, I know him. So I thought, I'm going to stick around.
This is going to be fun. How are you doing tonight, Graveyard?
Pretty good. Long day of doing housework, but excited to be on the show tonight.
And tell everybody, where are you at in the world tonight?
I'm just outside Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, so I'm just right into the border of Indiana. My co-host Salem's just over the border in Illinois. So it's about 9:30ish my time, and today was actually a break for me from watching movies. Surprise.
And getting the cleaning done.
Yeah.
He was working in the kitchen.
Yes.
Ooh.
Lots of cabinets to redo.
Sometimes you got to do the work too.
Oh yeah.
So tell us about your podcast. How long has it been running? We saw it's not just yourself. We saw there's another guy named Salem on there. Mm-hmm. Did you guys start this together, or what's going on with the show?
Yeah, so we started this about 2.5 months ago. Salem and I, we worked together professionally for 5 years now. I've known him for 5 years. And on top of that, we also do gaming online together. We play a lot of Destiny, and we're part of the same group in D&D as well. And we've been doing that for a number of years, and we realized that we talk about horror a lot because I personally watch horror movies whenever they come out.
Right.
As soon as they come out, I try to watch them. And, any movie I watch is generally horror, so I usually watch about 5 or 6 normally on the weekends.
Wow. Are you a married man?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Wow. And your wife lets you do that? You are in the perfect relationship, my friend.
She likes horror movies as well, so she gets really excited when new stuff comes out. It just really depends on the genre. Yeah.
Nerd together,
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been together 20 years, married 12.
Congratulations.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, and then Salem, like I said, we discuss it all the time. So we're playing D&D campaigns for hours. We're playing games, and we go, what horror movies are we watching? What horror movies are coming out that we're excited for? And you go, you know what? We talk about this so much that we should record it. We watch so much, so we just thought, hey, let's do it.
Right. And did you have any experience in podcasting, or did you know anything about that before you got started?
Podcasting, no. Way back in the day, like 15 years ago, when YouTube was like a 10-minute limit.
Right.
I was a backyard wrestler.
Woohoo!
So I was editing videos back then. I was uploading YouTube. You search hard enough, you may be able to find them still.
Right.
Kind of hide them away
while you're talking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, love horror. In high school, I was in theater, I was in drama, I wrote, directed, acted. So we carried that over into backyard wrestling, where my wrestler's name was Graveyard, and that's just a moniker I got in high school that's carried on to this day.
Right. Graveyard, wasn't there? No, maybe it was Switchblade. I'm trying to think. There was that movie Summer School way back in the day, where there was the two kids that were like in summer detention, but they were like obsessed with horror movies. Chainsaw and Dave. That was their names.
Wow, I haven't seen that movie.
Do you know what the movie I'm talking about?
I actually don't know that movie.
As a horror fan, you would like just the two characters and the way they're represented in the movie. It's a deep cut 80s movie.
I know that movie. It has Mark Harmon in it.
Mark Harmon, yes.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's.
I'm gonna send you a link to it on IMDb.
Yeah.
So you can pick it up.
Yeah, it's rare for me not to. I mean, I try to watch as much as I can.
Right.
Salem's a little bit older than me, so he got into it before me. I had really strict parents growing up where I couldn't watch horror movies at home. So, I miss a lot of stuff.
What is your fascination? Oh, I can't remember. God, we do so many shows on this channel. I don't remember who I talked to about what, but I do know that I talked to recently. We were talking about, what do you think the human obsession? I mean, obviously, none of us want to be in these situations, right? Nobody wants to be in a slasher movie or be the victim of, Jigsaw's puzzles or what have you. But what is our obsession with wanting to see this on screen?
I think a lot of it goes back into, like, it's almost like a thrill seeker thing where you put yourself into the fight situation just by vicariously watching the people go through it. And therefore, you can go, hey, I kind of came close to experiencing it. If you go back in cinema, horror was one of the first movie formats to get created, and it was the silent era. And they really did it because of the set pieces. It was more, silent. It was play. It was atmospheric. And, it really just depends on the type of horror movie that people really get into. You can get into the popcorn eating slashers that are just mindless killing.
Right.
Then you have stuff. Recently, past 15-ish years, that you have like the Relic, new one, which is about psychological thrillers. You have anything by Mike Flanagan, all his House on the Hills,
right?
That you have a more engaging in it, that you're looking for signs, you're looking for clues.
Right. Do you think another thing that we were talking about was that and everybody can have their own opinions, but we were talking about how in the 80s I've seen some of these like behind the scene documentaries on why they made certain movies, and I remember seeing one on Halloween, and then also I've heard too that a lot of times I think Night of the Living Dead, a lot of times directors would do horror movies as their first movies because it was a much cheaper movie to make than any other type of. Why is a horror movie cheaper to make than a different kind of movie?
It's primarily because you don't have to pay for big names, because especially when there's a body count, you can get these unknown people in there for relatively cheap. People really didn't know Jamie Lee Curtis before Halloween. People didn't know Johnny Depp before.
And if it's someone that gets slashed, if it's someone that gets slashed, then you don't have to pay them.
Right.
Not in real life.
You don't have that many actors that make it the full length of the movie.
Right.
And it's, special effects, set pieces, you can have so little in that in the world that you can just shoot on the same street. You can shoot in a single house. You don't have to do all this traveling and stuff like that. So, and I really like the indie horror movies a lot. Yes,
right. Right. And, when we were talking about how, even back then, I feel like movies are so different. And I hate to be that. Are you raising your hand or are you agreeing? What are you doing?
I'm not used to asking the question.
Okay, well, then ask your question, woman.
When it comes to all the effects in movies, do you prefer practical, CGI, or a mix?
Practical, absolutely practical. 80s, 70s, 80s, huge practical effects. 90s, we still had some practical effects, and then we started getting into the computer graphics. And let's face it, 90s computer graphics generally not so good. So those look. It was
the new age of them.
Yeah, so it was the idea of it was great, and now I think even things look better as practical than necessary CG. When they did, too. Yeah, a good practical, like look at Vecna in Stranger Things. His suit was
he looked amazing.
Practical.
He was like 95% practical.
Right. Yeah, so I think you can use computer graphics now to add on to the practical effects.
It makes it feel that much more real.
Yes,
it really does.
As opposed to the computer graphic blood from bullets and stuff like that.
Yes, and I think one of the reasons a lot of people enjoy horror movies or scary thrillers, things like that, is, let's face it, as humans have a natural curiosity for morbid stuff.
Right.
That's why you see people who, no matter how bad you think some people think it might be, that people, when someone has passed away, people want to know how, or when there's a scene and people have their cameras out and are trying to watch because they just have this natural curiosity. There's nothing wrong with the curiosity as long as you're not being disrespectful in some things for people. You're not going to post pictures of a passed away person online, just because you want everyone to satisfy the curiosity. It kind of goes beyond that kind of thing. But anyway, that was my question. I asked my first question.
I mean, a good example of that is, you probably heard of Faces of Death or the ABCs of Death, where
I have seen those.
A lot of people are like, oh, this is real. This is real. This is absolutely real. And if it was a snuff film, you wouldn't really be able to just go into Blockbuster and rent it. Let's face it.
I don't know what that is. I mean, I know what a snuff film is. I've never heard of the ABC Faces of Death thing.
Yes. Dude, that was legendary when I was a kid. When VHS was king, dude, that was like the tape that everybody tried to get their hands on.
Yes. Yeah.
My thing was the red asphalt that they made us watch in Driver's Ed.
Blood flows red on the highway.
Goodness. It was rough though. It was like a scare tactic basically to get you to drive safely. Pretty much. So.
And I think you can see the evolution of what people are interested in, or the macabre side of it, is when you go through the horror history. The Universal monsters were based off of superstitions, science, and just myths, right? And then we get into like the sci-fi golden age, where it's giant monsters caused by nuclear reactions, nuclear bombs, and we see that fear that's in the public get translated into the horror movies as well.
Right. And I think it was you that responded when we were talking online about the movie Alien, whether it was first a horror movie or whether it was a sci-fi movie, and you said it was a sci-fi movie. Am I correct?
Yes.
I remember some things.
Yes. So there's, I have tattoos, and I have a sci-fi leg and a horror movie arm. So I go, where am I putting Alien and Predator?
Right. Are you do a rom-com leg? I'm kidding.
No.
How was the guy in 10 days? No. Alien, I agree. Sci-fi with horror aspects, but it's not a horror movie.
Right.
Now, Die Hard, is it a Christmas? I'm just kidding.
It absolutely is.
I've never seen it.
So, I mean, Salem and I discussed this kind of in the first couple episodes of the podcast, is the history of horror and the genre bending that does exist.
Right.
Because, is it more sci-fi or is it more horror? As you say Aliens, it's a horror movie in space, but it makes it kind of sci-fi. Aliens is more action and then horror, but it's sci-fi as well. So, inevitably movies end up somehow going to space. So you get Leprechaun 4 in space. Well, Leprechaun is a horror movie franchise, but now it's in space. So what is it?
Jason X or Jason in Space.
Jason X, yeah.
And to further back up the CGI versus practical, so when Jurassic Park first came out, even like the large T-Rex, a lot of it was practical stuff, unless like you see the T-Rex running kind of a thing. And I think especially the Velociraptors, when they were CGI, they felt more like an animal. And that was scary. And then practical, that's practical. And now that they're CGI, it's like they're trying too much to convey so much emotion through the Velociraptors that they don't feel like an animal anymore, and it's just not as scary.
Right. And I could argue that Jurassic Park is a horror movie.
Yeah, there are moments you could kind of use
because it's a science
chased, right?
It's a science experiment gone wrong, which is Frankenstein or an Invisible Man. You have the creature feature aspect of it, of dinosaurs eating people, and then you kind of have people getting picked off one by one.
So and then you have like that suspense or thriller part of like when they're walking somewhere, you're like, don't go there.
Right. Yeah. So it's you can argue that a lot of stuff fits into the horror category.
And it sounds to me like, you're making divisions there, and honestly, I haven't really thought about it. But when you started saying it, I was like, oh yeah. But it seems to me that you could say horror movie, but horror movie is like a blanket term for a lot of other types of categories that fit. Maybe there's a slasher movie, or maybe there's more of a psychological thriller type horror movie. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because you can say that, Silence of the Lambs, it's a crime thriller. You have Seven. It's a horror movie, but it's a crime thriller once again.
So then what defines a horror movie? Matt here is saying you can argue that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a horror movie. Horrible things do happen to those children.
It's horrific in some aspects.
So, that was the hard question: is what's horror, right? That was one of our topics. Horror. So, do we define it as an ultimate good versus an ultimate evil? Is that one way to look at it? You can.
But then isn't that a superhero movie?
Right.
Wouldn't superhero? They're not horror movies. Except for we're going to talk by Werewolf by Night a little bit. No spoilers. We'll make it spoiler free. Okay. But I really got to get some ideas from a horror expert over here. Yeah. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
So
what makes horror? What it sounds like anything that's scary, it can be a horror movie, right?
Yeah. If it makes you tense, if it gives you that fight or flight response, I consider that to be horror. If it gives you that feeling of dread. Yeah.
When I play the scary video games, like Mortuary Assistant, and I'm on edge, that is what I feel like is horror. Because my shoulders later, I'm like, Mom, can you give me a shoulder massage? Because I play a scary game.
But here's
no spoil away. I haven't seen it.
But I don't know. Maybe I just need to open my perspective. But okay, there was a great movie. Maybe it was called Buried. Ryan Reynolds. It was Ryan Reynolds, and he was. I love this movie. The entire movie, he was inside a casket, right? Yes. That had me tensing on the edge of my seat the whole movie. Is that a horror movie?
Yes, absolutely. If it instills fear into you, it's a horror movie.
I'm gonna write that down because I've never heard of this.
Oh,
yeah. The trailer's him in the coffin, lying a liar, trying to figure out where he is.
It's actually interesting because one of the first Ryan Reynolds movies I saw was Amityville Horror.
Oh,
and he plays the husband in that. It's a remake of the original. And I actually haven't seen the original. Don't at me.
The first thing horror I saw him in, he was on an episode of X-Files. He had no speaking lines. And he was killed by witches, and he was
Wait, what season?
This is probably 1997. So
because I've only seen part through 5.
5 or 6.
You make me want to watch it so make me want to watch X-Files again so bad. It's sad because I wait until the X-Files movies before I started watching the show, and I'm watching the movies to my husband, what the heck is happening? Okay, so when it comes to your podcast episodes, tell us what like what takes what you, because I know you do certain things during the week that you have to do to prepare.
Yes.
For a podcast episode. So tell us a little bit about that.
Is it a weekly, or when does your podcast come on?
It is weekly right now. It's trying to time everything that I'm trying to have it come out on Sundays. But for this month, we are doing 2 a week.
Oh, wow. Because it's spooky month.
Well, because we, the way I prep for the shows, I kind of storyboard the stuff out ahead of time. I look at movies that are coming out, movies that we can go see. And if it's a part of a franchise, we watch the entire franchise. We incorporate the new movie into it. So this month alone, we had the new Hellraiser that came out Friday.
Wow, yeah.
That's number 11. So we had to watch 10.
I haven't seen the original
10 to do the first 2-parter of this one. This upcoming Friday is Halloween Ends, which is number 13 in the franchise.
Wow.
And we're actually going to do a 4-parter for that one because it's 4 or 5 different timelines that exist in that franchise.
Right.
And then we have a new VHS that comes out the week after, which is number 5 of that franchise. So just those 3 movies coming out, we had, that's 29 movies just to watch for this month.
Man,
that's pretty intense.
Do you have a regular 9 to 5?
Yes.
Wow. So you do all this and you have a family. Do you have kids as well?
3 kids. Yes.
Oh my goodness! Are you a vampire? Is that what's going on here? Are you a vampire?
Maybe. No, like I said, it's because
I
like to watch it. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's a lot of these movies are a lot of rewatches for me and Salem. We watched a lot of these. Now, Hellraiser, I hadn't watched in 20 years.
Right.
And there was 6 more that came out since I last watched it. So a lot of stuff was new to me with it, but the originals watched all the time. So, we're trying just for this month, because it's Halloween, to watch 31 movies and review 31 movies for this month.
Wow.
Oh gosh, you're making me want to watch more. I have not seen Halloween, the original Halloween, which I know it's really sad. Like the original classics, a lot of them I have not seen. It's like when I was in the mid 90s and older, are a lot of the ones I've seen where. Like I grew up with a girlfriend who liked scary movies, and that's stuff that we watched. Like I've seen Poltergeist. I've seen a lot of. I just watched The Shining this year for the first time.
The original.
The original,
series.
And I saw the original.
Okay.
With Jack Nicholson, and more than anything, I didn't find it scary for me, but I found it just like weird.
I mean,
it's
like
Stanley
disturbing.
Kubrick.
Yeah. And disturbing.
Yeah. I mean, I love that movie, even though it's not very close to the source material.
Right.
Because we discussed that too. We discussed books, and we're going to do a whole Stephen King
famously hated that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I did a book report on Cujo when I was in junior high.
Nice. Cujo's awesome. Good
The movie was not, again, just not quite like the book. There are several books, so guys, in case you don't know, there are several movies, horror and not, that like the book and the movie are completely different. Like Ready Player One, completely different.
So, and that's another question. You were just mentioning you were going to have a Stephen King like festival or series or something, right?
Yeah.
So, on your podcast you cover books as well, or is it primarily movies?
Books as well. I have a book here because we did the origins of horror, and we discussed.
Wow.
So for one podcast, we read all the H.P. Lovecraft stories that were made in the movies. We read all the Edgar Allan Poe stories that were made in all the movies that went with it.
Right. Wow. Kevin has a question here. I don't necessarily remember the answer, but you being the expert, you might know. He said, "Did Stephen King ever say why he hated the movie, other than it not, being
the ending is vastly different than the book. I don't recall why, but I know he disliked it so much that he decided to make his own movie, which was Maximum Overdrive with the Green Goblin head on the truck.
He basically thought there was like too many discrepancies between the book and the movie.
Like they didn't even get.
It was basically not what he wrote.
Yeah, they didn't even get the room numbers the same as in the book. I mean, how hard is that to do?
What was that short story what he wrote? Room
1408.
Yes, I saw that with John Cusack.
Yes, John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. Yep.
I was the kind of person that grew up and stuff. I said, oh, horror movies are my comedy section because, like, okay, in high school, you're gonna laugh at this. I'm so sorry. In high school, I went and saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre like remake. This is like
2003.
Yeah, I was like gonna say late or was it early 2000s. Yeah. I went and saw it for Valentine's Day with my boyfriend, and the bad guy fell and cut his own leg with a chainsaw, and I just burst out laughing. And everyone else was like serious and tense, and I just started laughing.
Well, we discuss that too, is especially with people like Jordan Peele making horror movies. Is it better when a comedian writes a horror movie or a horror person tries to do comedy?
It just, gosh, it just depends on the writing, really. Like, because the Jordan Peele movies are a different kind of horror that I feel like we haven't really seen.
Jordan Peele's just a master on a whole nother level, dude. You just gotta.
It's not strictly slasher. It's not like strictly gory.
It's not to compare him to mortals.
It's like a twisted original type of story that's like, what?
Yeah.
It just leaves you. Nope.
Yeah. And we have Edgar Wright doing Shaun of the Dead, and which got George Romero's praise for doing it. Like, hey, you're doing a zombie movie right. And what Sam and I were discussing was a horror person can do tense jump scares and the story and stuff like that, but they don't have the timing for the comedy. And I think the comedians coming in understand the timing of the punchline, except the punchline's the jump scare or the noise or the body falling out.
Sense.
So they're able to have that timing better than someone trying to write comedy as a horror person.
I've also read about comedic actors actually really understanding how to do drama and tense like really well versus vice versa. Like it doesn't work as well vice versa.
Jim Carrey, number 23.
Yeah, that was when you watch him do drama or horror, it's like I know we're family friendly, okay? There was one movie we went to watch the day before last. My girlfriend and I on this trip, we were going to try to watch horror movies, right? There was this one, and I can't remember the title of it at this moment. We were just kind of like perusing through synopses, and Jim Carrey plays a police officer, and he was going to be solving. And we didn't know that there was going to be some hanky-panky, like right at the very, very beginning. And we're like, and it took us like 10 seconds to turn the whole thing off. And so,
oh my God, it's not like your kids were with you.
No, they weren't. But still, this is the show here itself is family friendly. But just know that if you go to watch a horror movie with Jim Carrey, that he's played some officer, like take down a serial killer, don't turn it on if your kids are nearby.
That's where he has the big bushy beard, right?
Yes, he has a big. The picture
I haven't watched that yet, though.
We'll just let you know, don't watch it with your kids, okay? Because the very beginning's like, it's like Game of Thrones.
We have to be very careful with the horror movies that we watch. We watch it in our upstairs living room, and my kids still are kind of awake right now. But we know what we watched growing up. We watched a lot of stuff growing up. Let's face it.
So I'm guessing there's a balancing act though with your kids and what they're exposed to exactly.
Well, I
always explain to my kids that most of the time everything's fake. Right. You know how fake it is.
Well, because they're into Minecraft, they're into Five Nights at Freddy's, and they're on a lot of YouTubers getting into that stuff. So they know Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, not only because I have them tattooed on me,
right?
But it's it's so ingrained into our culture and social pop media and stuff like that. It's everywhere. Everyone knows.
My kid's obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but he'll get scared of other things. So I'm like, how can you watch Five Nights at Freddy's and then get scared of this? Like there was one that was and I haven't seen it myself, but it's the Mario Hunt dog. But he's like super bloody and coming after you specifically. Like it's kind of creepy. And he'll wake up from nightmares from that, but then he'll watch Five Nights at Freddy's and be obsessed. Like he's got a binder here somewhere where he's just got drawings everywhere of his version of the characters and such.
Well, horror games nowadays are so much better than what we had growing up.
Oh yeah. And FNAF being blown up, thank you to Markiplier, and all the spin-offs, all the sequels and all the spin-offs of it, the things are like it, but not quite the same. Yeah. It's really cool to watch that kind of stuff. Now, so do you guys talk about horror games on your podcast?
We're going to. we're that's supposed to be our light week.
Totally coming on. We're happy to come on that one because that
Yes.
I know a lot about horror games.
So yeah, Salem is also a very big gamer too. Like I said, we play a lot of games together. He's played all the Dark Pictures anthologies. He's done stuff, everything by Supermassive, including the Quarry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I don't have time to do all of that as well.
Yeah, that's why we tend to watch a lot of.
Right.
And if you want me to use Scary Game Squad, for those who don't know, on the Jesse Cox YouTube channel, Scary Game Squad is a group of 4 dudes like hang out and play scary games. Mm-hmm. We don't always get the time to play it or have the money to like buy a bunch of games to be able to, and so we go and watch them play it, and that's our date night. Like sometimes, like when they come out with something, I'm like, oh, they came out with a new episode. And we'll like go and watch them, and it's a blast. And so, scary games for those who don't remember Kyra Kid Gaming. I'm doing scary games this month.
Yes.
Yes. And so, like, when you do a scary games episode, let me know. I'd be happy to like say hi.
Yeah, I'm gonna. He plays all the new modern stuff. I'm sure you can see to my left over here all the video game consoles.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big gamer.
Beautiful.
I have every system ever existed.
Wow. His wall is of like controllers that says "Choose your weapon."
Yeah. So my nerdom has spilled out into the hallway, and I have 770 NES games. I have all but 7.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, right here. That is like mind blowing.
I had
that's like a museum.
Do you just mean like all the games for NES? Do you have the Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that one when I was a kid.
I'm a collector too, so
I'm emotional thinking of memories of playing that one. I used to rent it at Albertsons so I could bring it home and play it.
Yeah,
and buy gum for 5 cents.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do all the classic games of the the platformers. You have your Texas Chainsaw and Commodore 64. You have your Freddy. You have your Nightmare on Elm Street. You have your Friday the 13th on NES too. So I have all those games. So I'm gonna be doing those games.
That's so cool, especially the retro games. Like some of these kids will never have seen those.
Oh yeah, it's my kids play them. They have their own retro systems.
Wow, you're like not touching mine. Yeah. I want to ask you, Graveyard, why are Korean zombies so damn scary? Like Koreans have nailed the formula on scaring the crap out of me.
So I
Train to Busan. Have you seen? You've seen Train to Busan?
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel they've taken zombies from the runner zombies, the fast zombie era, and made them there. Like 28 days later, really introduced us to the fast zombies because zombies were always slow, shuffling creatures. Right. But now they're rage filled or whatever is there now, the contagion that creates the zombies. So they're fast moving, which makes them scarier because we're so bored with the classic zombie. And when I say classic zombie, I mean the George Romero zombie. The original zombies were voodoo, were created by voodoo. So spells and stuff cast on people.
Right.
It's like World War Z was similar to having the fast zombies, didn't they?
That movie was so not like the book.
Oh, nothing like it. And we listened to the book.
Okay.
And when you listen to it, all the different characters are played by different actors. Like each character has a different actor. John Turturro is in the book recording. It's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, we have to reinvent stuff every so often to make them scarier again. We see that and we discuss it like the classic Universal monsters.
Right.
The failed Dark Universe.
You were talking about different categories and types of like horror movies. It made me kind of think back. There's a quote attributed to Shakespeare that's something like there's only 6 original stories. Everything else is just a copy of those, right? It makes me think about that in terms of like horror movies when you were talking about the zombie movies, right? Now, as far as horror type movies go, isn't zombies one of the newer categories for types of horror movies? Or
I mean,
I know it's been around since the 50s, in horror movies.
It became this big thing, right? We had so much zombie stuff in existence, and I think you can see when something gets so popular that you have parodies again. It starts to get into comedy.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever seen Warm Bodies with Nicholas Hoult, and it's a zombie movie, but it's still kind of
it's a zombie
comedy.
Yeah,
and you eventually get to that point. Everything
Shaun of the Dead.
Point. Yeah,
it's an evolution of the zombie in movies, just like I don't know if you've seen it, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yes.
Which is, I just recently watched it. It's actually kind of entertaining. It's funny and silly. It's just think of it, man. Pride and Prejudice as if the zombies like.
I'm familiar with the book series. I didn't know they did a movie.
Yeah, they did a movie. It has gosh, what's her name? She played Cinderella. She played Pamela Anderson in the most recent.
I don't know her name.
My brain's blanking. Anyway.
Something Adams.
No.
Something like that. No. Okay.
Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, actress lady. You're beautiful. I love you. You're on Cinderella as well. Anyway, so just like any other creature, vampire is probably one of the oldest. Evolution over time, when you see the original like Dracula versus like Underworld or Blade, where like their mouths open a different way.
Frankenstein.
All the different evolutions and having things like I Frankenstein and stuff like that, where they almost like humanize. Or like, Twilight. It's not horror at all. But they have their own change that people make them have.
And I think the indicator now in today's society is when it becomes a young adult book, quite honestly. Is when it becomes
Goosebumps.
Yeah, well, I mean, I read Goosebumps growing up. I was born in the 80s.
Are you afraid of the dark?
Absolutely.
That was a great show.
Absolutely. The new ones are pretty good too.
I haven't seen
new seasons.
I want to check them out. Now I'm gonna write like everything I need to check out.
Like
make a list.
We see a cycle, like because the last Universal monster movies were Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, meet the Wolfman, so they're comedies.
Right.
And with Hammer Horror coming back 60s, 70s, 80s, we got Monster Squad. It's a comedy.
Right.
In the 90s, late 90s, we got The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, but we started gearing towards action as opposed to horror.
Right.
With these creatures.
On that note, I really want to ask you, and we're going to keep this as spoiler-free as we can. I'm sure you've seen Werewolf by Night by now, right? I'm sure that was your lips were probably salivating, waiting for that one, right?
Yes.
I love, of course, it's no secret. It's done in black and white. It's a throwback, and I would almost say it's like a love letter to the old Universal Monsters movies from way back in the day, with the way that it's shot, with some of the camera effects and angles and lighting that they do. It's definitely a love letter to those old-time movies. What did you think?
I mean, I love horror movies and gore, and I always want a more traditional monster movie, but I could use more gore, honestly, in my opinion.
I thought it was fantastic for Marvel and Disney.
Well, I think that's the thing is with the new directors that we're seeing now, new projects like this, that you're seeing their love letters to stuff they grew up with. So they're trying to emulate that stuff. So our generation now are the movie makers, and they're emulating stuff that we saw in the 80s. Emulate what they saw in the 60s. So Werewolf by Night could have been longer. I think I actually want more of it. I
would have liked a series like just like these other ones.
Yeah, and I want it to be black and white forever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What I love hearing about your podcast and your love for horror movies is that despite, even if it's like a horror movie that's not great, like just like me with music, we appreciate the good aspects of everything, even if it's not like it recepted well or whatever. Despite what you might not like about something, there's an appreciation for the horror and the gore and the slasher and all those that I love to see in that. Like, it's a passion behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Pushes you through.
Yeah, and I like Kevin's remark talking about vampires in the daytime. Went kind of far. Now, yes and no. Because, I don't know if you ever heard the book series, The Dresden Files.
I'm listening to the law right now. One of his short stories.
But I mean, Dresden Files really gets into different types of vampires. There's more than one type. You have the seductive type. You have the death ones that drink blood that can only come out at night, that follow the classic vampire.
And they have their own councils and stuff like that are like their law.
And you have the Red Court, which are essentially demonic bats wearing human skin that can go out in daylight.
Yeah. Wow. It's really my husband turned me on the Dresden Files a while back, and we listened to it because I don't get a lot. Unfortunately, I'm a tired person. I sit to read and I start to fall asleep. So I listened to James Marsters, who did Spike and Buffy. He voices Dresden. Now, the short story we're listening to is actually voiced by Jim Butcher, the writer of the Dresden Files. He actually is doing the voice of it, which is actually kind of fun. He's actually pretty good himself. I kind of enjoy him as well. That is one that they have so many different like creatures in that one too, and in a way, his books I wouldn't consider horror. I would consider those more like a fantasy.
It's
set in real world.
Fantasy noir.
Yeah, that's a really because he's a PI, so that's a really good.
And I like it just because it's Chicago based, and I know all the landmarks.
I really wish they did a TV show
versus Alton Brown, where I don't know any of these pieces of art look like at these,
I really wanted. I know they did the TV show, and I haven't seen it, but it didn't receive well, and it makes me sad. I wish it could have.
We're getting another TV show.
Are they really?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Husband.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said,
made my heart just really happy. And for those who haven't seen it, I'm wearing my shirt that Graveyard sent me. It has my name on the back, and so I'm really excited. I saved it to have it ready for tonight. I changed out of what I wore on my trip home so I could put this one on.
So Graveyard, is your show, when you guys do your when you and Salem are figuring out your podcast, is it based on what's going on in pop culture at that time, or is it based on what's kind of on your mind? Maybe you've been thinking about the Exorcist movie or what have you, and then let's just do an episode about that. What informs how your show's gonna run?
Like I said, it's kind of scheduling out new stuff that's coming out too. Like if I know, there's going to be the next Friday, the first Friday the 13th, or second one in 2023, it's going to be another Friday the 13th.
Oh, so yeah.
I keep track of all that stuff. I go, okay, we're not going to talk about that until we get to that new movie.
Wow.
Because we do movie reviews, we do brief synopsises, we give it ratings, we talk about the lore, we talk about highlights, low points, first watches, rewatches, and everything that goes with it. I mean, we longer franchises, we have to break them up just because our podcasts are long. I know.
How long is your show?
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, per show.
Yeah, and we could go on forever, realistically. So, like I said, I have a timeline. I have talking points. The first one that we did this month, honestly, we went to a horror movie marathon convention in Chicago on the 1st.
Oh, wow.
And we actually sponsored a movie there. So I reached out. It was called The Massacre in downtown Chicago.
Right.
I reached out to the people. Hey, next year, how do we sponsor this? How do we become part of this? Like, you can do it this year. I go,
wow.
Awesome. So we made an episode the next day, all about it. So we watched a couple of movies, got to meet vendors. We got to meet other podcasters there. And we actually sponsored and helped bring John Dugan, who played the original grandpa in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was there. So we got to meet and talk to him and all that stuff.
Wow. Are you still a fanboy? Like, do you get all giddy when you meet these people?
Oh, that
sounds so strange to hear giddy come out for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really cool. I want to get to more conventions and do stuff like that. I really do. I've met Bruce Campbell way back in 2008 when he did My Name is Bruce in Chicago. I drove up there. Yeah, there's the picture of Salem and I with John Dugan.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool dude. He's from Indiana. He went to performing arts and acting class in Chicago.
Right.
But we want to do more. Like, I wanted to do last year, there's going to be Bruce Fest that Bruce Campbell is hosting. Is going to be at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get to go. I really wanted to, because you're going to do a scavenger hunt around the hotel from The Shining, have dinner and all that stuff with them. Didn't get to go, but I'm hoping that we can do more and get out to more conventions and stuff like that.
Oh, that'll be so sick for the podcast.
Yeah.
Is this something that you had been thinking about doing in other terms? Like, I know you said you didn't have experience in podcasting, but had it been do you listen to a lot of other podcasters?
I do. Salem listens more. He listens to the last podcast on the left a lot more. They're big horror thing. He listens to a lot of true crime stuff as well. I generally put on podcasts while I'm working just to have something going in my ears. So I just stare at a screen all day because I work IT.
Right.
So just to keep my interest and stuff like that. So, but no, it's something I want to jump into. And it's just, I have many hobbies. And it's kind of, what do I divert my attention to? Because I'm doing another channel with my other buddy. We're doing the Road to Smash Brothers 64.
Oh, wow.
We're playing every game that those characters were in, starting in 1972.
That's fun. That is
wow.
Fun. So
that is great.
Yeah, I have to edit all those too, do the voiceover, do the game capture, and all that stuff.
For those of you interested, down in the description below is the Spotify link, Facebook, and YouTube link for Graveyard shows here. Give them a listen. It's a lot of fun. Especially if you like horror. If you don't like horror at all, it might not quite be the most.
I could argue that everyone will find one horror movie they like. There's one. Everyone has seen one, and I think the first one sticks with everybody.
Now, are you enjoying the Jordan Peele movies?
I am. I really like Get Out and Us. And Nope was to me a longer Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, right. Put it with a little bit it's like a longer Twilight Zone episode with a big budget and newer.
Yeah. And when we discussed, we did a whole show on his trilogy that he wrote and directed. I didn't include the new Candyman, even though he produced it. And I want to see him do a slasher.
That would be really cool.
Because of his commentary, because of his viewpoints, to have his take on, the community in a slasher film, I'd love to see his take on it.
I love his because his movies feel kind of like a new start to a genre of movies. The storylines are so original. It's not just like, oh, these people went on a trip and there's killers out there or something like that.
Right.
Like The Descent, which I just watched last night.
Great
which was fun. I wasn't ever scared, but that's just part of it. I watched a lot of horror movies over time. Mm-hmm. I did have a couple of shocking moments, but not anything I was actually like scared of. Like the horror movies that are to me that really like that I love are the ones that make my heart race, that get me scared, that I think about later.
That you don't want to take out the trash at night.
Yeah. Or like when you're trying to come in from the garage and you want to like run inside before you get the light off.
Yeah.
Actually, the only movie I've ever been actually scared of, and I think it was because I was very pregnant and hormonal, because these type of movies did not normally scare me, was the first Paranormal Activity.
Love that movie.
I'm not sure if it was because I was pregnant, but I had like this horrible feeling that like, because the wife would stand over and like watch her husband for hours in the night. And that's what I kept dreaming about when I was pregnant. But when a woman is pregnant, you have wild dreams. And so maybe it was that. And I haven't watched any of the other ones since. I think I'd be okay now. I just like I haven't gotten around to it. I have enough trouble keeping up with like today's stuff.
Yeah.
Especially new rock stars. Like trying to keep up with it. For those who don't know, I met Graveyard in the new rock stars community, actually.
Graveyard. So this being something that like is part of your life now, all these horror movies and really researching them and going back on these classics, is there anything that scares you now? Like, is there anything that that you've seen in a film that like you were laying in bed later that night, go, maybe I should go check the front door again?
No, quite honestly, I don't have. My wife and discussed it. There's some people that can like picture an apple. If I say envision an apple in your head, you can vividly picture the apple. I don't have that, so my brain always races a mile a minute anyway, just from information and thinking of work more than anything else. So my nightmares are like work related.
Like when I started new jobs at places, I would actually, especially if the job was repetitive, I would have nightmares about it. I worked at an amusement park. And I worked in the horror. I worked in the haunted houses a couple of times. Those were fun. But regularly, when I first started there, I was a ride operator, and it was so repetitive that I started sitting up in the night and talking to my guests, like, or the guests but like also half realizing that it's the middle of the night and going, no, we're closed, go away.
That's when you need a job change.
Eventually that happened. But like those were my nightmares too. Like so in a way it's like our horror is very different than the modern take, the typical take on horror.
Yeah. But I can say after becoming a dad that I started viewing kids in horror movies differently.
It really hits you hard.
It became more upsetting. When I was a teenager, I didn't care. I didn't care if, the 1988 Blob that had the first kid being killed on screen didn't bother me.
Right.
And my wife became the same way, that she got more disturbed with kids in horror movies.
Right. Seeing Gage get hit in Pet Cemetery hits you a whole different way when
absolutely.
When you have some of those little guys running around.
It felt the same way when I became a parent. It felt very different. Like you have this whole different level of understanding that hits you harder.
Right.
So my other question is, we were talking about Jordan Peele, but before him, that was kind of like a new genre of movies is M. Night Shyamalan. Now, I feel, from my personal perspective, I think he had a strong start.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about his start and how his movies have evolved now?
So
I feel like you had the same opinion.
It's going to be it's actually going to be an episode that we're discussing.
Oh,
we're talking. It's going to be What a Twist is the title.
What a twist!
Because his thing
from the robot
chicken.
From the robot chicken.
Yes. What a twist! Yes.
What a twist!
So, Sixth Sense came out in '99.
Yeah, something like that. That was his first one.
Yeah, I was like 14 or 15, and I don't recall seeing it in theaters because, like I said, my parents were strict. If it's R-rated, I know it wasn't R-rated, but I couldn't go see.
My friend's mom would go buy us the tickets.
Yeah. So strong start, but he got very formulaic as his stuff went on. Unbreakable. It was a good take on a superhero.
Right.
I think the Village. Not good.
Kinda, yeah.
Not good. I think we can spoil a movie that's 18 years old at this point in time. That it would have been better if the creatures were real.
Yeah, it felt kind of an anticlimactic thing. For those who don't know what Village is about, it kind of seems like you're in an older times. Yeah. But there's like these scary werewolf kind of creatures preying on the village. It's kind of like the first time you see Bryce Dallas Howard in something as an adult. Yeah. And it's like a twist at the end where you find out that like the elders of the village, in a sense, were living in the modern day world, but they were like all these horrible things were happening to them. So they decided to start like their own isolated world, and the actual creatures were people to like try to keep everyone from leaving. Yeah. In a sense, if I remember correctly, it's been years.
And to Kevin's thing about signs, it didn't bother me, but my wife has a thing with mirrors. So seeing the alien in the TV screen reflecting got to her. And so we don't have a lot of mirrors in our house, and she can't watch the movie.
And that's understandable.
With Kiefer Sutherland.
In a sense, because the reflection doesn't quite give you 100% of what it looks like. So it kind of leaves the imagination.
Right.
To kind of fill in the rest, which is why sometimes in horror movies, whether it be creatures or people, not quite seeing them is scarier than seeing them.
Right.
Kind of like Nope, when you don't see the creature up above for quite a while.
A lot of people have compared Nope as almost like an homage to Jaws. And classically, Jaws, the reason you don't see much of the shark is not because they planned it that way, but because they couldn't get the thing to work.
Good old Bruce. You can see it in Universal Studios.
It's turned in, and they did the same thing with Alien, right? You don't really see the monster. The Blair Witch Project. I know we just talked about this. Blair Witch Project. You don't see the bad person.
I'm so scared.
Yeah.
You need snot coming out of your lip or your nose.
So I mean, I think I love psychological horror more, where you have your imagination to fill it in. I don't need everything explained to me.
Right.
The new Blair Witch came out 6 years ago now. As a sequel, and they actually show the Blair Witch. So it wasn't ever a question. You watch the first one as a question: is the Blair Witch real or not? Or were they taking her out there to kill her?
Yeah, there's a game too, and the game's pretty
Yes.
interesting.
I mean, I have it. I have all the horror.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
The one I'm playing this week is called Visage.
Okay.
And it's probably one of the games that scared me the most, but it was also when I started streaming. I used to stream on a personal channel. That was one of the first scary games I had played in a long while. So that also could be why. I remember like even this one moment getting the chills all over me, and I'm like, I love it and hate it at the same time.
Right. And the games is something that we want to discuss. Is when do we consider a game to be a movie? When does it become better than a movie? Does the quarry better? Yeah, I think the quarry is better. Yeah,
I think one reason like the anthology series and the quarry, I don't know if you know what those are, Van, but they're
rock quarries.
Well, not the quarry itself, but like the game, the quarry. Oh. It's called the quarry. These are like real-time action. You have a choice to make, and you have a timed amount to make this choice, and it affects what happens next.
Right.
So it's a choose your own adventure game.
Yes. And so even though the game itself is not always about like hitting action buttons to fight someone.
Kind of like the Walking Dead games.
Yes. Like Telltale games.
Yes, Telltale. It's like so you hit the right button at the right time of the decision you want to make, and then the cutscenes play out like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an interesting hybrid of movie and game mixed together.
Right.
And they've done that with more than just horror. Like Detroit Become Human is very similar in that, and that one's very
Mass Effect was that way too, where your main chases.
Yeah. So like all the different like endings that can happen. And then that's what makes the game too also awesome, because it has replay value in that sense, where you can try to get everyone to live and such like that. And I think that has a whole new level of scary, because with movies, you don't have control over anything. You're just watching a story. Right. But when you're watching and playing a game that has like a movie aspect, and you know that your choices are what's affecting everything, it's like crap. You get freaked out. And I kind of like want to, when I play the game this Wednesday, I kind of like want to research on how you do the heart rate monitor while you're playing or watching something, to like see what actually gets my heart pumping. So do you have any favorites when it comes to like a certain series or just one movie that really stands out for you? Aside from, like not just because of a tattoo of it or anything, but like something that you just...
Evil Dead.
On
Bruce
Laserdisc.
Campbell, Sam Raimi was like the original director, right? He was the director. I'm not sure if you've ever listened or read If Chins Could Kill.
Yeah. Oh, I have all his books.
Okay,
I have all his books. Yeah.
They're fun to listen to because they have like a 10 rating, comes on and does characters and stuff like that. Evil Dead series is great. When did you first watch them?
I remember seeing, this is probably 93. After Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Saturdays, that on Sci-Fi, or the Sci-Fi Channel at that point in time, right? It was Army of Darkness would always come on.
I was obsessed with Army of Darkness as a kid. I'd always be like, "Give me some Sugar Baby and Groovy,"
absolutely.
and I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, this is pretty interesting. This is before internet. We didn't really know what this was, and it just said Army of Darkness. I had no idea at that time it was the third movie of a trilogy.
Right.
And soon, kid at the video store, as soon as I was able to rent movies without my parents noticing, I literally went to every single movie in the movie store and watched it.
Wow.
It's a great series.
And my wife in high school, our first date was watching the trilogy.
Oh, wow.
I go, if you don't like this, it's not going to work out. I'm sorry.
It's really, Van, have you seen the Evil Dead series?
I've seen the first one. I have not seen the whole series.
Okay, so it slowly moves to more like a horror comedy in a sense, more than anything. But
I'm definitely familiar with it.
Classic, and in reading the book where Bruce Campbell talks about the making of the movie and stuff, you appreciate in a sense so much more that goes behind making it, and how much of an indie it really was. It was people working their butt off to make this movie, and it was a great series.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I started writing screenplays for horror stuff, and I wanted to do that. I never got to it.
I need to remind me. I wrote a horror poem I need to send to you. I think you might enjoy it. It's something I wrote in high school, though. It's like forever ago. Or like just after high school. So Bruce Campbell plays Ash, and I know you've got something you want to share with us.
Oh, yes.
A signed Ash bobblehead.
That's so freaking cool. Funko Pop.
When I was in high school, when I started working and making money, anything Evil Dead, I'd go to Suncoast Videos, FYE, and even Spencer's around Halloween, and anything Evil Dead related, I bought.
Right.
Without any question.
I have no doubt that you have the game.
Oh, absolutely. I have the special edition sitting right above me.
I was like, no problem. Bruce Campbell stays silly, but each episode was too repetitive. They'd meet random new person gets. Oh, you mean the TV show itself? Actually, you know what's sad is we only watched the first episode of the show. I know your face of disgust right then. That hit me so hard.
Let's just say that I'm so obsessed with Evil Dead that my son's name is Ash William.
Oh, there you go.
Wow. That is an obsession.
Is his full name Ashley?
No. No. My oldest is named off of Jane Levy's character from the 2013 Evil Dead. And my other daughter's named off of Evelyn from The Mummy.
Have you seen or listened to Evil Dead the musical?
Yes.
My husband and I went and saw it. It was about an hour from here. And there was so it's a bloody movie.
Yes.
The musical has a splash zone.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It's like SeaWorld.
Well, what my first thought of was that, I can't remember his name, the comedian that would smash fruits and vegetables
Gallagher.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, Gallagher.
Had a splash zone, so this was like that. Like, people had ponchos on because fake blood would be squirted over into the audience.
Mm-hmm.
No, we sat towards the back, but I enjoyed it so much, and I will often find myself singing the song "Cabin in the Woods." And being a theater singer person myself, I like go all out with it. Right. Like it's true. We've got your hand to join us and all that kind of stuff, like the hand crawling around, which also gives me like Addams Family vibes sometimes. That's a really awesome classic one that a lot of people really enjoy. Van, you need to finish the series.
Apparently,
just like how I have everything else I need to watch.
Yeah.
All right, as we are getting a little long, let's take about another 5 minutes on here and get our last minute questions out. You got anything you want to throw out, Mez?
So I asked you about like your favorite movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite scary game? Because since I'm a gamer myself, that you've played or watched, even if it's just watched.
Game, like I said, I'm so far behind in video games. Like you can probably see all my binders above me.
Like when I told you about the one I'm playing this Wednesday,
Wow.
Visage, I think you hadn't heard of it.
I had not heard of it. No, it's something I want to do. I started playing Until Dawn recently because in prep for the podcast we're gonna do on it.
That's with the one with Remy Malek, right? And like Hidden Pentier.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When I get to more of the gaming side of what I want to do is I have the VR headset. I want to do anything that's VR related. I want to be so immersed into the game that I want to experience everything. I played Evil Dead the video game, the asymmetrical horror. I love it. I really do. Favorite video games is going to be the Evil Dead video games that came out in the early 2000s because they had one that came out in the Dreamcast in the late 90s. I don't know if you remember the commercial. Is a neighbor that got like a hedge clipper for his hand.
No,
like a hedge trimmer. Yeah.
Did you now? What do you think of Phasmophobia?
I don't know that.
You don't. Okay, so
No.
That one is it's a multiplayer. You can play it single, but it's kind of hard. You play online with people. You go to a house. Asylum, high school. You're hunting for a specific type of ghost, and you have to look for evidence on what type of ghost it is.
Okay.
And it can be really creepy, and they have it in VR as well.
Nice.
So you're talking about VR. It's something and they have one similar that's about mummies as well, where you have to go find out a mummy.
Okay.
and your person, your avatar, whoever you're playing, you can die. The ghost can get you. It's called the ghost goes on a hunt and stuff. Okay. But and then the point is to fill objectives like take a picture of the ghost, get to blow out a candle, stuff like that. Use the spirit box and all that jazz. Okay. You find out what type of ghost is depending on the evidence. And then when you're finished and you figured out who it is, and the objectives, the only one that's required is the type of ghost. Okay. The other ones are optional. But the more money you get for the more objectives you finish, and different things like taking a picture of a dead body so they get their insurance back. Because if they supply all the gear and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going on a long thing about Phasmophobia, but I think you'd enjoy that. Yeah. I think it's funny to watch YouTubers play it in the sense, anyone who's streaming it, or just a recording of it, because it makes me laugh so hard. That's one reason I like people like watching people play scary games, is because they like watching other people get scared and laughing their butts off at them. I laugh at people and I let people laugh at me.
Well, like I said, like I said before, if you ever need someone to join in these online multiplayer games for streaming,
I'm thinking about
games.
Maybe we can
just not during the day. I'm working.
Yeah. Maybe at one point when there's a night game, I know Forrest, our friend Forrest, who is usually on our Friday night show, is also starting to do gaming. Right now he's doing Last of Us, but maybe if there's a scary one that comes up, there could be a multiplayer. Yeah. All right, Van, do you have any questions, sir?
I just want to know, did you have any final word for maybe new podcasters or people that are interested in starting their own podcast? And what does the future hold for you in Salem?
For people starting out, like I said, the biggest hard thing for me was find the software that I wanted to use, because Salem and I are never in the same spot. We're not he's at his house, I'm at my house. We discussed doing stuff live and stuff like that. Like I said, the biggest thing is, find something you're really passionate about.
Right.
You can be passionate. You don't have to have, 1 million listeners. It's something good to put out there. It's something creative and giving your thoughts into the world, and people listen to it. Fantastic. I love it.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of why, I wanted to do the sponsorship at the convention, even though we're still relatively new, just to get people out there, get to meet and greet people and go to more conventions.
Right. It's good to get out there and meet people.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd love to get big. I mean, obviously, we all want to have that, right?
Right.
I just want to make sure that we get to the year and keep going to the conventions that we can, go to the sponsorships. There was this past weekend was going to be a drive-in thing that was 14 hours each day. It was too far away for us.
Wow.
It was about 5-hour drive one way.
Wow. That is a long day.
To me, when it comes to what we're doing, no matter the numbers, as long as you're having fun and nerding out with people, to me, that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I think,
and I love entertaining people. I'm a theater person. What do you expect?
And horror is always going to be around. It's the first movie. So it's going to be around. And there's always new stuff to talk about.
Are there any horror plays?
I mean, I would consider Sweeney Todd a horror play.
Yeah, that's the pre-show. James Navarro. Hey,
James, he is near the Chicago area. James is of Distance Nerding Podcast. Yes. And they are up in Oregon right now. So thank you for tuning in, James. Wonderful. Well, hopefully we will get to see that change on the podcast, see how your show evolves, how you step into new arenas, and maybe even interview and talk to people at conventions. That all sounds absolutely exciting.
Yes, absolutely. I met some great guys that did some indie stuff that are short films over 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to talk to them and get them on for interviews and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get stuff out there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Graveyard, for joining us. For those who want to get more info on it, down in the description is a Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube link to their podcast. Go back and listen. There is so much fun stuff to listen to. When's the next episode drop? Is it live? That's what James is asking.
It's not live. I just posted the first part of Hellraiser today.
Woo!
So that came out today. I'm scheduling for the part 2 to be out on Wednesday, and then we're recording the next 4 parts next week and a half. So
wow.
Yeah, so go ahead and check out the Spotify link down below, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Graveyard, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.
Fantastic.
I'm not used to ending the interview, so I'm like, what do I do?
and we love having you on because I see your name pop up on the different shows, and I was like, oh, there's Graveyard. So it's so good to finally meet you in person.
Yes, you too.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's take care.
Bye.
Oh gosh, no! Don't make me big.
That picture of Salem on that picture, like his eyes are like all bugged out, like he accidentally put on adult content at work or something on his computer, and he's like,
Is it basically the face I made when the Jim Carrey movie started the other night?
Yes, exactly.
I'll explain that to you when the show's over.
Wow, that was absolutely so much fun. I like the scary stuff. I like the spooky stuff.
It's fun because I've listened to Graveyard and I've spoken to him in Discord, but I've never actually did the real time like speaking like this. So that was kind of fun and entertaining.
I know it's kind of weird when you actually meet people too. Like I'll see people at cons and they're like bugged out that I'm a real person. I'm not Max Headroom. I do exist.
That's kind of like when I first met Eric Voss in San Francisco. Like I'm so used to seeing that person here up.
Right.
And then I see he's like 4 or 5 inches taller than I.
You're like, holy crap, you have legs.
Like, oh wait, hi. Which was great. So the best too is when you meet them in person. When you meet someone in person, it's like it just makes it that much more real in a sense.
Right.
Then you can be like, it's like where the online world and the real life world converge in a sense. Right. Because always online, it's like, oh, IRL, I gotta do this in IRL. I know this person in IRL, but there's like, I know you in the IRL, which is kind of cool because we're local to each other. So it's easier to meet up. Although we've only actually, I think, been each other in person like a handful of times.
I was thinking about that when he was talking about his partner, Salem. I was like, dude, like you and I are never like in the same room.
Rarely. Like, oh man, Hellraiser, he did a deep dive on that franchise. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, make sure to check out that first series that is up now over there, and we have the link down below in the comments.
Yes,
so you can go over there and check out all that.
They mostly pot out at night. Mostly. I don't know why I said it that way. I was like, oh, you know what was really fun? I watched a clip of Vincent Price doing the Thriller like intro monologue live on a talk show, and it was so much fun. I can't remember which talk show it was. I'm blanking out on who it was. It was so much fun to watch him do it live. Not live, but like,
I just have to say right now,
years later.
Okay. So for people that are regulars to the show, you know that Mezzo doesn't often do like the main interviews with me. This was a fun little time tonight. You were freaking cracking out, girl. Like you were spazzing, dude. You were like woo woo woo. You're like a squirrel, dude. I feel like you've been locked up in a closet all weekend.
I was in the woods. Nothing. It was really funny. So my girlfriend and I watched The Descent last night, and it's a movie about a group of women. Some of them are meeting for the first time, but they're mostly friends, right? They're going on a spelunking trip together,
right?
And the moment like you see the hole, we're both like, no, don't go down there.
Not doing it.
No, that is not. So when she and I saw this pathway, we're like walking in the redwoods, and we're taking on this like 1 mile loop, and we saw this pathway. We're like, nope.
Not doing it.
We know. We've seen the guide on girls' trips. You don't go down places you don't know. And that was a fun movie. Yeah, we're really over. Okay. Next we have Kevin Hogan, our dear convention connoisseur. It was thanks, James Navarro. Yep, there's Graveyard talking to you right there, James. So Kevin Hogan goes to conventions in the area every week, and he gives us a report. So thank you, Kevin Hogan, for this. And without further ado,
we love you, Kevin.
Here's Kevin's California Comic-Con Adventures.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Hogan from Northern California with another episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On the weekend of Saturday, October the 1st, 2022, we got to see the Sundial Bridge Comic-Con up there in Redding to the far northern end of California there. This was their 4th annual Comic-Con there at the Redding line in there. Here we see some photos there from the local news agency that visited there. They had over 30 vendors there, showing off lots of cool souvenirs there. Got to see lots of local cosplayers walking around there. This is Redding's only Comic-Con that visits their city there. So they had a nice turnout there. Lots of Star Wars and anime fans walking around there. It's really cool there. And so it's great that they have a chance to have all their cool fandoms collide there all together there and get a chance to visit there. Also that same weekend on October the 2nd, our friends at Ohana Comic-Con visited the Hayward Castro Valley area there. So they got to see their local vendor hall there, and got to see one of their cosplay contests there. Ohana Comic-Con, as you know, visits a different city every weekend up and down the state of California there, so it's a great chance to see your local friends next time they visit a city near you there. And also that same weekend there, we saw Comicverse the Saturday the 1st and Sunday the 2nd in West Sacramento Community Center there. We got to see vendors set up there with lots of different souvenirs and some celebrities signing autographs there. I got to see cosplayers walking around. I myself there walking around as Marty McFly from Back to the Future, and Mamo and my big fursuit walking around there. I got to see a Toph from The Last Airbender, Joker, Riddler, Bane, and a few other DC cool characters there, and the whole Power Ranger squad was very cool there. And also, later that same weekend there was the Lodi Comic-Con. Lodi Comic-Con over at the Great Festival Fairgrounds on Sunday, October the 2nd was hosted by the same people that put on Stockton Con. They had a whole bunch of vendors in all the buildings there at the fairgrounds there, and a lot of people signed autographs there. Got to see a big turnout there. Lots of cosplayers walking around there. It was a great, fun time there had by all there. And they even had a cosplay contest in there. It was really cool getting to see all the creative costumes walking around there. And next time you get a chance to visit, definitely recommend it. They host events there usually every 6 months or so there. Both the fairgrounds there at Lodi Con and also in Stockton, the Stockton Con there at the big arena there. And for those of you interested in upcoming events there is also some things to look forward to down in the central Southern California area of Fresno at the Big Fresno Fair. The Pop Culture Experience is going on October the 5th through October the 16th there at the Fresno Fair. They're encouraging any cosplayers to come on down and walk around the fair there. Also, Solano Cosplay Gathering is having their gathering going on Saturday, October the 15th from noon to 3 p.m. at the Alamo Creek Park there. They're going to have a potluck, raffle, and photo ops going on there, so any cosplayers in the Alamo Creek area there, be sure to come on down and visit that area there. And also, our friends at Ohana Comic-Con are going to be going back to Manteca on October the 15th there. And also, they'll be going on October the 16th to Livermore. So that'll be a fun chance to visit them there. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the picks there. And we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
So I think James asked me how many Ewoks I brought home. I just let them all go. Thank you, Kevin Hogan, for that report on the conventions.
And Graveyard, I didn't see it listed on there. I think it's coming up, unless I missed it, but Sinister Creature Con, or did that just pass us? But they do Sinister Creature Con here in the Sacramento area, and it's always scurry stuff.
Okay, that's fun. That's I'll look at the info and I'll send it to you, Graveyard, if I can find it. Okay, dude, or you can look it up yourself. I can see you, so I can see his gorgeous beard. There, he was like, "You."
Ooh, Great Wolf Lodge.
We were all practicing. Fat. Like I was flipping my hair. I told him to flip his beard. It's
dude,
like the guy from Kill Bill. That does he does that.
I am right with James, dude. We got to get something going at Wolf Lodge, a con there, and then stay for a few days. That would be absolutely insane.
Ooh, that sounds fun. All right, so next we are running late today, but guys, don't forget to check out on Friday nights. We have our After Dark show, 18 plus recommended due to adult contact and adult language. But this Wednesday, Mezzo here. I'll be playing scary games this month for Spooktober, and this one's called Visage. I was an early I Kickstarter kind of thing. Like I did the early access. That's what it's called. I'm like, I can't remember. And so but it's a game that I never actually got to complete the entire thing, right? So there's 5 chapters. You don't have to play them in order. So I'm excited to kind of play through the parts of the game that I haven't played yet. Mm-hmm. It'll be the first scary game that like I haven't seen the rest of it in gameplay of someone else finishing it.
Right.
And so long that I am so excited about that. My one of my other favorite scary games, which I don't plan to play on the channel just because it kind of loses the charm when you played it. It's called Layers of Fear. That was a really good psychological one. Like it
sounds like you've wiped back too many layers.
It took me a second to see what you meant. Now I'm laughing.
It's like an ogre.
Oh my god, an onion.
All right. Okay, my friend. Right. Tonight has been a long night. Let's get.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to tune in Wednesday and Friday. Enjoy the talk of the town. Good night.
Please check out our Patreon and help us out. We have levels for even as low as $1 and all kinds of cool, fabulous, exclusive prizes. And just so you know, I was actually talking to a shirt vendor today to get the ball rolling on some exclusive Kyber K Productions.
Yes, if you're a patron, you get access to exclusive KCP merch soon to be made. All right, guys. Have a good night. Catch you later. Bye.
Peace. See you Wednesday.